Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call vote, please? I'll go ahead and open it up to citizen comments. Any citizens that would like to speak, please come to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. Mark Molinaro, 1011 12th Street, Town of Somers. Here this evening to speak to you and urge your support for the resolution before you, which has to do with the reconstruction of Highway KR. Clearly, this is something that is extremely important to Somers, and we have been involved. Thank you to the county executive, Kenosha County staff for engaging us in the conversation from day one. This is going to have a significant impact on the village of Somers, that whole corridor as we come through from I-94 East. We are supportive of the final, what we believe to be headed in the right direction. Anyways, I don't know if it's final. We won't know that for quite some time, possibly, but at least what it appears to be the final draft of the reconstruction of that road. I simply want to urge you, number one, to support it. I want to say on behalf of the town and the village of Somers, we support it. The president of the village isn't here this evening, but certainly is in support as well. And I want to just take a moment to say, without the help of the county executive and the county staff, we would be inheriting, after the fact, a reconstructed road that wouldn't look anything like what we're going to have. So I think we've been able to, I say we, but certainly the county executive and his team has been able to take what I believe to be somewhere in the neighborhood of a 3-mile reconstruction, turn that into 4.5, give or take, and I don't know exactly what the numbers are. I'm sure Clement knows exactly what the numbers are. At a fraction of what it would cost Kenosha County if we were to reconstruct that additional 1.5 miles and anything else, that's part of that 3 miles. So in true fashion to the county executive, he has taken his expertise and brought it to the table with everybody's best interest in mind. And in the long term, Kenosha County is going to benefit to what I believe that I heard tonight is roughly a $3 million expenditure. And I believe we talked, the last meeting we had, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of a $10 million benefit for that $3 million in expense. So I urge you to support it this evening. We appreciate the help and the attention given to Somers and how this will help impact or lessen the impact in the long run for us. So I appreciate it. Mr. Executive, staff, thank you very much. I'm going to run real quickly. I hate to do it and take off, but I didn't tell my wife that I was going to be here, so she's waiting for dinner. Enjoy the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Any other citizen comments? Citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Seeing none, I'll close citizen comments and move on to announcements of the chair. First, I'd like to start out by saying congratulations to all of those that were successful in their elections last night. I know that you will be seeing some new faces on the board in just a couple weeks. For those that were not successful, I suggest that you stay involved. Join a committee. There's lots of towns, villages, county, city. They all have committees that are looking for volunteers to sit on, so I suggest that everyone stay involved and help out the community. Also on your desk, there is the 2018 WCA Biennial Survey. If you guys could fill this out tonight and get it back to the county clerk before you leave tonight, that would be appreciated. That's all I have. We will open it up to supervisor reports. Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At our last meeting, we were right on the fringes of moving into the newly renovated older portion of Brookside. That project and that move went very smooth, as the original move did, March 13th, and what we're looking at now is tentative plans for a formal ribbon cutting on May 15th, and that would be scheduled for a little bit later in the day so that people could attend. Otherwise, the department is again very busy. Over the next several weeks, we'll be getting a lot of bids out and back for projects. A couple that we have already gotten back. If it's, hopefully it bodes well for how our bidding timing is working. We received bids back for the public safety building roofing project for this summer, and accepted a bid of $440,000. Our budget for that was $600,000. So that means that placement of that bid and timing was very good. And the parking ramp waterproofing, I know I mentioned that at a previous meeting. That bid came in at $109,000 with a reputable firm from Minnesota, Blaine, Minnesota. And our budget for that was $150,000. The Highway S reconstruction is still all in the planning stages, but things are going slowly with all of the players involved, but it's going along. And Foxconn, you're going to be hearing quite a bit about that this evening. So most of you already have, as far as transfer that we're talking about and work that the state wants to do on the highway. Another interesting item that people have asked me about is the Kemper Center Lakefront Studios, and they are scheduled to be ready to go by the end of April. The golf courses, we opened on March 17th and did the Milwaukee Golf Show as we did the Chicago one. Right now, Dan is working on hiring and trying to retain employees. I know I've talked about that already, but that's a major problem for the whole county. And it's when you get into these part-time seasonals, it's very difficult. So they're doing a good job. They started earlier than usual, so they're open. I'm sure they weren't doing too well today and yesterday, but the ribbon cutting for Brookside, that'll be made public sometime shortly. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Overman. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wanted to report to the board. We had another meeting of the tax deed, a delinquent tax deed property task force a week ago. And as I reported last time, we've gotten past all of the big issues and the pile of properties and how we wrap our hands around getting control of this monster to really getting control of the monster and whittling it down to a really reasonable level and getting to a point to where there is light at the end of the tunnel and there's systems in place so that if we ever encounter a disaster like we did a couple of years ago, these systems are in place to prevent us ever falling as far behind as we did. So really just fabulous progress. But the thing I really want to report to you guys is that I can't harp on this enough, how every member that is on that task force from every department, I think coming into it didn't realize how everybody played a role in the success of getting control of this. And I think we have all now at this state come out of it understanding that we need each other, and working with each other is the only way we can, make this better for everybody. And it's been such a really cool process to see unfold from start to where it's at now. And that kind of leads me into my next comment that while I won't be here in the weeks ahead, as I was not one of the successful electors last night. And I know I was asked to be on this task force partly because I was on the board, but, probably more for my professional experience. And I think we've reached a point in the task force where I'm not needed, but certainly if the new chair decides that they would like for me to be involved, I'd be happy to donate my time. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Bostrom. Seeing no other lights, we will move on.
New business, Resolution 87 from the Human Service Committee, a resolution approving the appointment of Linda Bogdala as Administrator of Brookside Care Center. Human Service Committee, Gable, yes. Hallman, yes. Poole, yes. Berg, yes. Retzloff, yes. Blau excused. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Gable, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 87.
I have a first by Supervisor Gable and a second by Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Gable.
Linda Badala appeared before our committee. She seems ably qualified, and it looks like it'd be a seamless move at Brookside.
Thank you, Supervisor Gable. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
I couldn't help myself. I would be remiss if I didn't state that not only is Linda Bogdala able, she's overqualified. And not only is she overqualified for this position, Linda Bogdala is such a remarkably wonderful human being. We are really lucky to have her. So I hope that this vote is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Bostrom. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Resolution, Resolution 88 from the Finance Committee and Facilities, a resolution to amend the 2018 budget for Kenosha County Highway KR infrastructure improvement. Public Works, Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, no. Franco, yes. Wambolt excused. Bostrom, yes. Gilmore excused. I'm not seeing Finance. Sorry, it was on the back sheet. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Retzloff, yes. Dodge, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, yes.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
I would move the resolution.
I have a first by Supervisor Rose and a second by Supervisor Elverman. At this time, I would believe that Mr. Arbit would like to speak on this.
For the supervisors that weren't in the joint meeting held just prior to the board meeting tonight, we put on your desk a copy, kind of an executive summary of everything that's contained in the fairly lengthy jurisdictional transfer agreement, some of the financial implications. There was a map also placed on your desk. So I can go through the summary again, or given the large number of folks that were actually at the meeting, if there's any questions anybody has, if you want me to run through it, I'll certainly run through it, but I didn't want to, because we were doing a head count, there was about 16 of the supervisors that were at the meeting just prior to this. But for those that weren't there, I'll certainly run through it.
Is there anyone that wishes to have another summary? No. Any questions?
I won't be hurt by that.
Supervisor Rose, do you have anything to add?
All right, thank you. Just a few things. The resolution before you really supports two things. One, you're supporting the project, and two, you're amending the budget to include this bonding for the financing of it. The other thing I would say about this is really a watershed resolution, probably one of the more important resolutions that you will pass during this conclusion of this two-year term. If you remember back when Highway 165 was developed and the Pleasant Prairie Industrial Park was first under consideration, and that whole issue came before the board, and the board adopted a resolution. Highway 165 was developed, as was the industrial park, and Kenosha County was forever changed, as well as Pleasant Prairie. This, I think, is a very similar type resolution as the development of that industrial park and that highway. And that 10 years from now, we'll look back and say, well, this wasn't just about Foxconn. This was about development of the north side of Kenosha, the development of the population and expansion of population, and the development of companies that we don't know even are interested at this time in coming to Kenosha. But I foresee that this type of resolution will spur that same type of development, and that we will look back in time and say that in 2018, the board adopted Resolution 88 as a very significant development resolution for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I echo the words of Chairman Rose. I couldn't agree anymore. I just wanted to publicly state, because I know I've kind of been beating the drum here for at least the last 3 sessions regarding stormwater management, and really just hoping and praying that that we would be on top of making sure that our neighbors to the north are not leaving us with a huge problem. And I wanted to publicly thank not only our staff, but the county executive for his hard work. It seems as if I didn't have to beat any drums because he was way ahead of me. As part of the agreement that we will be approving, there's some very strict language in there that ensures that that we will be protected from any adverse effects of the Foxconn development and any stormwater that they'll run off. But more importantly, it also keeps sewer PAC engaged, not only during the planning stages, the construction phase, stages, but even afterwards, to ensure that we aren't left with a, with a big problem sometime down the road. So I just wanted to publicly thank everybody involved for making sure that Kenosha County residents were protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Bostrom. Supervisor Retzlaff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to bring up real quickly a meeting that we had. I addressed the bonding issue of this. We're bonding $3.3 million over 20 years for this. So after discussions and everything, that is the best way to do this. Even though I argue that maybe we should look at general reserves, but with consideration to our bond rating coming up and so forth, this is the best way to do it. So I've fully supported this, and we did bring up the issue of how we're going to finance the 3.3. So the bonding is the best way. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Retzlaff. Supervisor Grady, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Much of this will be repetitive because the majority of supervisors were at the previous meeting, but just for the record and for those that weren't in attendance, when this KR proposal originally came before us to Kenosha County, it was not particularly advantageous in terms of the scope of the road design overall. It had it narrowing down to 2 lanes at Highway EA, which would have created a bottleneck. As Supervisor Bostrom alluded, there was not really significant enough planning for the stormwater runoff. And furthermore, there was not the infrastructure placed in this plan to have the appropriate traffic flow signalized and do it in a manner which will be beneficial to Kenosha County residents. So our county exec basically went to bat for us, got this modified to the point that you see here tonight, and I think that going forward, once this is constructed, it will be a plan that both Kenosha and Racine will be happy to have going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Grady. Seeing no other lights? Yep.
Do you have a correction?
Oh, there is a correction.
I was handed all these right at the beginning of the meeting, so I was incorrect in saying that Supervisor O'Day did not support the budget resolution amendment. He did support it. So just for the record.
All right, this is a budget modification. Yes, if you're in favor, no, if you are not.
Resolution 88 from Corporation Council and Public Works, a resolution authorizing limited jurisdictional transfer of a portion of County Trunk Highway KR to the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. What? It's 89. Is it 89?
It should be 89.
It is 89. Alverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, no. Franco, yes. Bostrom, yes. Wambolt, excused. Gilmore, excused.
Supervisor Alverman, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 89.
I have a first by Supervisor Alverman and a second by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Alverman.
Whenever there is going to be a project of this size done by someone else, we have to, and they require, we do a jurisdictional transfer. This is a limited jurisdictional transfer. The state is going to put roughly 30 million to 40 million dollars worth of work. The plans are not completed, whether it's going to be 4 lanes, 6 lanes, 5 lanes, but they want to begin work shortly. So we would transfer this to the state of Wisconsin. They will do the construction work. They will get it prepared for the new activity that's going to be there, and then assign it back to us. It'll be transferred back to Kenosha County. While this work is going on, Highway A and H are going to be major avenues of detour. So the state is beefing those roadways up. When this work is over, they're going to turn those back over and $7.52 million for us to reconstruct. Because I won't use what Ray said is going to happen to the roads, but they're going to get worked hard. So this is all part of the Foxconn project for the highway. The bonding is what we're going to be doing to do some of the minor improvements and straightening of other roads that are going to be to our advantage, getting Kenosha County residents to this area and Kenosha County businesses. So I'd ask you to approve this transfer.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Oh, roll call.
Approval of the March 20th, 2018 minutes by Supervisor Berg.
Supervisor Berg, you have the floor.
I move March 20th, 2018 minutes.
I have a first by Supervisor Berg and a second by Supervisor Poole. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I have a motion to adjourn by Supervisor Kubicki and a second by Supervisor O'Day. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you.